Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4, Privet Drive, were proud to say that they were perfectly normal, thank you very much. They were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious, because they just didn't hold with such nonsense. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Greetings, citizens of the internet! You can call me Nitro Indigo, and today I'll be sharing my opinions on book covers. Our parents always tell us to never judge a book by its cover, but let's face it, we do. They grab our attention in bookstores and give us a reference point to base our mental images upon. Please note that I'm not a graphics design expert. My favourite book covers of all time are definitely the 2014 Bloomsbury Harry Potter covers. They're all really detailed while still retaining a cartoony style and have great colour theming, and they each show a dramatic and memorable moment from the book. While I don't like them as much, the Scholastic editions from the same year also look pretty good. The scenes are drawn in a way that makes them look more wide open than their British counterparts, and they give off a sense of wonder. To be honest, except for The Prisoner of Azkaban, I'm not really a fan of the original Harry Potter covers. The Philosopher's Stone looks inconsistently cartoony compared to the rest of the covers, which are so detailed that they look kind of weird. I do like the scenery illustrations on the back though. Plus, that owl on the cover of the Chamber of Secrets definitely isn't Hedwig. Speaking of owls, let's talk about Guardians of Ga'Hoole. Published by Scholastic in the US and HarperCollins in the UK, all of the original editions of the books have the same art but different spine colours in both countries except for the capture. The Scholastic edition shows a close-up of an owl, while the HarperCollins edition shows Sauron being, well, captured. I much prefer the latter because it shows an actual scene from the book. Not to mention, I'm not a fan of covers that are just a close-up of a character's face to begin with, and I especially dislike the American cover of The Capture because it's just the antagonist with a neutral expression. By the way, the version of The Capture I own is the movie branded one, which looks like HarperCollins briefly attempted to rename the book's Legend of the Guardians. Meanwhile, the Japanese covers look like movie posters. Pretty cool if you ask me. To go off on a tangent here, why are these books so hard to find in the UK? They've been out of print for years, The Journey and The Rescue aren't on the Kindle store, and my second-hand copies of them were held together by yellow ink sellotape when I bought them. Spirit Animals had an interesting concept, but there was so much going on that I lost track and got bored near the start of book 2. The covers, however, are amazing. The cover for Wildborn shows all of the main characters ready to fight, and it's bright, colourful and eye-catching. As a bonus, it's one of those books when the original hardback has the cover printed on the board instead of on a sleeve. I don't like sleeves because they get tattered easily. Can something be so boring it's interesting? Because that's how I describe Seekers. Despite having good characters, Seekers had barely any humour, or heart, or memorable moments, yet I kept on reading. It might have had something to do with the awesome Eggman covers. They all have a common theme with the starboarders, the line of light and the bears on the mountain in the background, but each one shows a different part of the Canadian wilderness that our protagonists travel to. It's also amazing how many sky colours the designers came up with. Speaking of the wilderness, I really like the covers of the Last World trilogy. While simplistic, the poses of the silhouettes are modern enough to give off a feeling of a long journey. The books use the same cover art in every country, but the colours vary. My favourites are the original Quercus paperbacks. The yellow colour of The Last World gives me the impression of the early morning, like the dawn of an adventure. It also makes me think of a relaxing Waterstones, for some reason. The cover of The Dark World is, well, dark. The cover of The World Beyond evokes sunsets. As well as making me think of our protagonist journeying beyond the horizon, I just really like sunsets. If I had to nitpick, the wolf on the reverse of The Last World looks like a sock puppet. I really don't like these Neon Hunger Games covers. Not only do the colours clash horribly, but they're way too bright for the tone of the series. This style would be more suited to a book about modern teenagers, not a violent dystopia. While we're on the subject of young adult book covers I don't like, what's up with the cover for the first Missing book? Why is Jessica's head facing in a different direction to the rest of her body? I do like the foil effects on the lightning, mind, though you can't see it in this image. I'm not normally a fan of minimalism, but I'm fine with it in slice-of-life stories, because they're genuinely simplistic and don't contain a lot of physical descriptions. Take Wonder, for example, where it's a plot point that we don't know what the protagonist looks like at first. You could say that the theme of Wonder is to not judge a book by its cover. Metaphorically, not literally. So, do you judge books by their covers? What are your favourites and least favourites?